Hey, thanks for subscribing, downloading, and checking us out once again. This is the Live Life Aggressively show. Sincere Hogan, Mike Mahler on the other line. Man, again, I always like to bring up all the fun that we have before we start recording. So, I gotta start recording the recordings before the recording and make that bonus material for our Patreon subscribers. So as a reward for them for always supporting us on a monthly basis, man. I think that'll be a good little hookup for them. Some kind of like you said before, like Bill Maher has after the show or whatever. We should have like before the show, because that's where all the funny stuff happens.
Right.
We can't do after the show because that was just you and me, and then
we cut people off. When the guests try to stick around, we just delete them. Like, no, you're gone.
Like you're done now. Bye bye.
Get on with your day.
We can't talk about you if you're still on the line, man. Get off.
Exactly.
No, just kidding.
And we also have a lot of people using that coupon code LLA to get 10% off some great products. We've got Ross Turpin, Mark Wilson, Ronald Mitchell, Steve McCaskey, Warren Nichols, Brandon Schultz, Steve Murphy, Matt Brandt, David Jin, and Philip Biga. They've all been using that coupon code LLA to get 10% off some great nutrition supplements, videos, information products over at MikeMahler.com. So make sure you use that coupon code, support the show, support my business, and they can also use it at your website, right?
Yeah, at NewWarriorTraining.com. Here's the cool thing, folks. One thing that you probably noticed about Mike and myself, we didn't sit there and try to dupe you during the whole little holidays things. Here's the Black Friday thing. Here's the Cyber Monday. Here's Small Saturday. You know what? Why do we have to pick 3 days out of the year to do that, man? Why not hook you up throughout the year? And that's what we do with this LLA coupon code. You can use it anytime throughout the freaking year. You don't have to sit there and like save up your pennies. Like, let me wait till November and get it. You can do it now. And that's the beautiful thing about that. So yeah, head over to MikeMahler.com. Head over to NewWarriorTraining.com. Use that coupon code any freaking time you want to for the best supplements on Mike's site, as well as the best information product on both of our websites. And for all you coffee lovers out there, because, okay, some of you may have been waiting till, that little holiday in December that people kind of celebrate there to kind of buy some stuff for your coffee lovers out there. Head over to NewWarriorTraining.com, get a Sharia door, hook your people up with some damn good coffee that they can brew anywhere, anytime, and it's environmentally friendly. Okay, you don't have to plug it into or anything like that. It's like, get some hot water, get some great coffee, and I got suggestions for great coffee as well on that same page. And there you go, man. You're hooked up. And also, you can do it with tea as well. So you're not just limited to coffee, because I know some folks out there that don't drink coffee. So, but, they love tea. I got a hookup for you, too. You can use it for that as well.
I use the Triador for tea, coffee. It's also great. Anyone who's ever stayed in Vegas, especially on the Strip, you notice that they never have a coffee maker in the room. Because they want you to
drink alcohol.
To blow $10 on some Starbucks coffee. So if you have a Triador, which is portable, easy to take anywhere you want, they always have a hot pot in the room, so you can just boil some water and make your own coffee.
Yep.
So it definitely is a portable device for going anywhere in the world and making sure you have your own high quality coffee, because we all know how it is on the road. It's not a lot of good options.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go, folks. Make use of that coupon code. All right, man. Let's talk to our guest.
Speaking about a guy who's on the road, this guy's been all over the road.
It's a road warrior for real.
Yeah. And I've known our guest for a long time. Great guy, great strength coach, great fitness expert. And then he's doing what I think a lot of people say they would always love to do but never do, which is travel the world. And not only travel the world, but really get into different cultures out there. He's not going to a country and then hitting McDonald's. Or going to, a lot of Americans like to go to other countries and they go to places they go to in America.
It's so funny, man. Yeah. I went to Paris and I saw a line outside the KFC. I'm like, wait a minute, man. We're in Paris. Really? KFC in Paris? First of all, that's wrong. Okay. That's all types of wrong right there.
There's a KFC in Kenya, but it's called Kenya Fried Chicken instead of Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Well, at least you know the chicken's real. If it's coming from
They
Kenya.
just take brands because none of the national brands are in most of Africa, right? So they
got McDowell's, like coming to America, McDowell's instead of McDonald's.
This one guy has a travel agency in Kenya. It's called Indiana Jones Adventure Traveling or something like that. It has like a poster of Harrison Ford in the Indiana Jones outfit. These guys can care less. It's hilarious when you see that kind of stuff. But anyway, our guest today is Luke Sniewski. He's the author of A Million Ways to Live, and he was also the producer of the show A Million Ways to Live, which is a great show that you can check out on his website. I think it's on YouTube as well, all over the web. This is an extremely well-produced show. It's like something that you would see on the Travel Network. I wouldn't be surprised if they contact Luke and want to put a show on there. It's that level of quality. Luke, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, man. It's so good to be on here. And Mike, I've been following you for years, and we have been friends. Thanks for mentioning that for a long time. So Thank you. So appreciative to be on. And sincere, we've hung out. We've competed together in Detroit at the kettlebell competition.
Oh, yeah.
So it's good to hear your voice again as well.
Thanks, you guys are still alive, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. We're still here.
Luke, how did this whole journey happen for you?
I mean, like you said, every person dreams and talks about traveling around the world. And I had been talking about it for years, like, man, I'm going to travel around the world. I'm going to travel around the world. And it was just a matter of figuring out how to do it with purpose, with something that's bigger than myself, something that's not just a tourist experience. And the more I studied, the more I got into the strength, fitness, nutrition, coaching world, the more I realized that there's so many different ways of looking at it, so many different ways of achieving goals. And I wanted to see how other people around the world and other cultures around the world were finding health and happiness in their own ways. And it was really just a crazy experience to go to 40 different countries and produce, nearly around 60 different episodes. It's crazy.
Yeah. Is there a place in particular that really sticks out?
I get asked that a lot, and there isn't, because every place is special, because every person or every culture that you're speaking with has found their truth through their own way. And like when you're in contact with truth, like their truth, it overcomes you with like, yeah, you know your shit. And even though it's different than my shit, like, you know it, and you got there with your own experience. And that takes courage to really just follow your own path and blaze your own trail and say, I'm not just going to read this and take it as truth, as gospel. I'm going to see what works for my body, what allows me to thrive. And that's what I found more so than anything, was how people were finding their own truth. And you could tell just by looking in their eyes that it was there. It was permanent.
Yeah. Are there some examples? Different countries?
In different countries, let's go with like Tanzania. I hung out with the Maasai tribe, and they don't kill their animals, or they don't eat animals pretty much because they value it's value and wealth within the community. So, but in order to get proteins and amino acids and all the nutrition from the animal, obviously they milk it, but they also bleed it. So blood eventually, restores and more blood cells come back afterwards, but they get the nutrition from the blood by combining the milk and the blood and drinking that. And that was quite the experience. And
wow, I had no idea. I just assumed Maasai were hunters as well, hunter-gatherers.
But because I always wonder, because the lions, my wife was telling me how, when she went to Africa, they, as we were doing the tour, they were saying that, a lot of times, like even the lions, when they see the Maasai, they just have respect for the Maasai tribe, and the lions kind of like, I'm going to go, there's a Maasai guy, let me go over here. Okay, so, to me, I just figured like, okay, they must be some fierce hunters for even lions to back down, like, oh, I'm not messing with those dudes. Like, I had no clue. Actually,
the guy I interviewed killed a lion, and the reason why they hunt the lions is if a lion does attack a cow or a goat, they have to hunt that lion down, that specific lion down, and kill it. Otherwise, that animal thinks it can come back and feast more. So it's about protecting the rest of the herd. Right. And and then the person that does kill the animal, they're just rewarded from all the families within the tribe with more livestock. So it's very deeply rooted to protect the long-term health and sustainability of the culture. Right. And so
it's not trophy hunting, right? No, some jack off is killing a lion for a trophy in his living room.
No. Exactly. Some dentist.
They don't post their killings on Instagram.
What did they think when they saw you with cameras and stuff like that, right? Because they're pretty far removed from what we would call a technological society.
It depends, because just like everything else, there's been commercial influence depending on the tribe that you visit. Right. So my goal was not to visit a commercial Maasai tribe, because you can get that. Like you can get a commercial bottled up packaged experience if you just want to buy it. Mm-hmm. So my whole thing was, I had just finished summiting Mount Kilimanjaro, and I was talking to one of my local guides, and I'm like, hey, I really want to get in with the Maasai, film an episode on their culture, what they're doing, but I do not want a commercial experience. So he got back to me 2 days, and we met up, and we drove to some street corner, picked up a local Maasai, and literally drove to his village. And we were one of the first people there with cameras. And how it goes is now that village is starting to bring in people. So I guess I kind of started the process a little bit, but it was interesting, because they look at all these things and they're fascinated by them. But then at the same time, I'm looking at their culture, and I'm absolutely fascinated by the way they live, the way they thrive, the way everything. Their culture is beautiful.
Yeah. What's a day like for the Maasai? They wake up early in the morning. What do they do?
I spent an entire day out there. I didn't spend the evening. I didn't spend the night out there, so I wouldn't be able. And that being said, they're trying to show me everything that's traditional within the culture. Have you heard of Maasai dancing?
Yes,
sure.
yeah.
So that is epic to watch because it actually correlates to the men. It's almost like a straight leg high jump, but they're bouncing.
Yeah.
And so usually the tribesmen that can jump the highest and sustain that height for the most jumps is typically the most athletic person. It's almost like a combine. It's like a hunter's combine, and that person is leader of the pack, leader of the hunters, and it's incredible to use a plyometric assessment to determine the leader of the pack. And it just so happened that the dude that was the best dancer, or in my terms, I see it as jumping, the best high jumper, was the leader of the pack, and he's the one that's killed the lion. And like in that episode that I filmed, they showed me how to throw the spear. Like it was nuts. And
I can just imagine Steve Cotter in the audience, and he can't contain himself. He just starts jumping out there.
He's like, "Oh, that's cool, brother. Can you do it on one leg?"
Starts making out one-legged squats.
Yeah, but it is amazing, man. Because my wife came back from Uganda, man, and she had pictures, from one of those ceremonies. And I'm just looking at these guys in the photo like, if I knew my wife was that technologically advanced, I knew she probably photoshopped that picture. But I'm like, I know better. So I'm like, wow, those dudes are like getting up. I mean, pretty much almost like just slightly above like our heads, and they're doing this with a straight leg, man. I'm just like, whoa. So
that's great.
Really awesome.
Some great physiques.
Yes, exactly.
That in Kenya, these guys would just be shredded walking around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing when you eat real food.
But yeah, when there's no Kenya fried chicken nearby,
Do they eat several times a day?
Yeah, they eat meals throughout the day, and there's even there, like driving to the village, we stopped at like a convenience store. So there is access to bulk items. At this point, it's really everywhere in the world, and that's one of the things I saw. Like I was in Fiji, and I filmed a small village of 250 people in Tukavesi, and like within just 2 generations ago, there was no heart disease, no hypertension, and no diabetes. 2 generations later, I didn't even meet the real chief of the village because he was in the hospital with the worst case of diabetes the village had ever seen. Wow. And like now it's running rampant because they've, instead of like dissolving coconut water to get the sugar, instead of dissolving ocean water to get the sea salt, they're getting these processed bags of crap salt and crap sugar. And it's like prominent throughout the village. There's diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease. It's everywhere. I got really lucky because this was complete luck. By the way, most of the places and people I met and things that I was exposed to was luck. It wasn't even research. It was landing and just figuring it out as we went. But here in Fiji, we happened to be at the only Fijian village that had a United States Peace Corps worker there. And he was working there on health education to educate people on, like, hey, instead of 8 or 6 spoonfuls of sugar in your tea, how about you go with like 1 or 2? And even those were hard sells for people. And also incredible was the dichotomy, the complete difference, like night and day between the physique and health of the women of the village and the physique and health of the men of the village. As children, they grow up and they all look athletic. They all look, they're all moving. Yeah. But by adulthood, the women have specific roles within the community and the men have specific roles. The men are all like ripped, shredded, playing rugby every day. And like the women are not at all. And so it's amazing to see because the men are moving from sunrise to sunset.
The women are they're obese, they're overweight.
Yes, the women are obese, overweight, unhealthy.
Look, man.
The men are I followed it there. I spent 5 days there. So there I'm following one of the guys around, and from morning to night he's moving. Like the family garden where they grow their root vegetables is about 1 kilometer or 2 away. And I'm trying to keep up with them. It's funny because like they're walking barefoot, right? And I'm like, I can go barefoot, and I'm like tippy-toeing because the bottoms of my feet are so sore, and I'm like barely walking. And then sprinting past me are like 4 children. I'm like, how do you guys do that? And like these stones just like drill into the bottom of my foot, and I just realized how maladapted I am because of my own footwear. And then these people are just like sprinting on these rocks, and then and they all have a machete. They're all chopping through the bush to get to the gardens. They pick their stuff, they pull it up, they chop it down, they bring it back. Then they build their oven from scratch every time they use it. So they fire heat some rocks, and then they use like these palm fronds and then huge banana leaves as insulation, and then they throw the root vegetables in there, because otherwise you can't really eat a root vegetable, and even when it's fully cooked, it doesn't taste too appetizing.
Right.
So you've got this. So the protein in the Fijian village was a rarity. So most of the protein came from catching some crabs from the ocean. So we were the welcome guests, so we got to eat some crabs. But for the most part, we were eating root vegetables, which is the most appetizing. We were advised to bring peanut butter and jars of something so we can keep our calorie intake up, especially given that my son's mom, Claire Robbie, she was helping out at the time. She was there pregnant with Jack in that, because that was one of the first episodes we filmed in Fiji. So it was just this crazy epic experience.
Yeah, man. I gotta blame that obesity problem on the Kardashians, man. Because every time they vacation, they go to Fiji. So, so yeah, that's one more thing we can blame on the Kardashians, man. The curse of the Kardashians.
They're infusing some American culture.
They're probably telling the women like, "Why are you playing rugby, girl? Get your nails done. Why don't you shop at Dash?"
Well, you actually bring up something really interesting, because in a lot of traditional cultures, like in the Middle East and Lebanon, women aren't supposed to exercise. Exercise is viewed as unhealthy.
Oh, I know. My mother-in-law's from Lebanon, and one of my wife's cousins, she's an avid runner. I mean, she's made the news over there from all the marathons that she's won or whatever. But so many people, before she got on TV, before the news started following her and everything she's accomplished, before that, everybody thought she was crazy. And she was kind of like this black sheep of the family. And they thought she was really weird. Like, why would you want to do that? Why do you have to run? What are you doing? So it's really looked down upon. Why are you not sitting here, cooking for the men and, making, putting the shisha together and all this other stuff, so all those traditions, she got away from that. She was kind of a rebel, man. And, of course, when my wife gets over there, it's just like they naturally click, because they're so anti the traditional Middle Eastern woman when it comes to all that stuff, man. And it was just baffling to me to sit there and think like, wow, so they're shunning her for running and actually want to take care of herself instead of sitting around eating all day and smoking shisha and God knows what else, where you have kids who smoke cigarettes when they're like 4 and they're smoking shisha, doing hookah when they're like 2 years old, and which is serious. And my wife shows me pictures. There are 2-year-olds sitting there smoking from the hookah over there. I'm like, are you serious? Like, come on, man. So, but they have a problem with her cousin running. And especially in the altitude over there is great, because she runs in the mountains and all that, man. So it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, Lebanon's a beautiful country, and
yes.
They start their coffee pretty young too. So
yes, they do.
It's amazing. It's amazing to see what is considered healthy, what's considered not healthy.
Right.
A lot of the younger generation is finding their way around those traditional norms by doing yoga, because yoga is not really considered like an exercise,
right.
It's like a stretch, and so it's funny how people adapt. But it's that was just one thing I noticed.
Yeah, I think also in the Middle East, often it reflects poorly on the male if the woman is working or she's not overweight, especially at a certain age. Because like me, you're not taking care of her. What's going on? She's so thin, she's malnourished. What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah.
But it's not like the men are that encouraged to be physical.
No, not at all.
A place like Dubai, I mean, it's hardly the epitome of physical fitness. Everybody's overweight there. Men, women, child, you name it.
Hey, but I have money. Okay, so that's all I need.
Hey, if you could put a hole in the ground and make money on that, I wouldn't be doing shit either.
Exactly.
What are some other countries that have some? I'm sure you have interesting stories with pretty much everywhere you went to, but let's get a few more examples.
Okay, cool. Well, how about this? Like, I went to Ethiopia is just hands down one of the most interesting cultures and experiences on planet Earth. Not just for me, but I think for everybody, because it's so different. Because they're never colonized, so they don't have the influence of English or French or anything. It's really maintained its culture. I mean, so much so that it's not even 2015 there. It's 2008. And it's not 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not noon. It's 6 o'clock. So when we wake up at 6 a.m., it's their 0 o'clock, which makes sense because it's the start of the day. It's 0. So then they literally get 12 hours of sunshine and then 12 hours of nighttime, which makes kind of logical sense. And it makes me wonder, like, why do we get up at 6 a.m. and not 0? And then one other difference.
Some of us do.
Yeah, there you go. Good point. Vegas, probably. And it's they've got 13 months in the year, not 12. So just some cultural differences that are so unique. And even their look, they look very different from other African countries.
Yeah.
And I would say they look more like Caucasians with dark skin. They look very Caucasian in terms of facial features and facial structures. And so it's just a very different African country. And then up north near Bahar Dar, there's a small little community that's been around since the 60s called Aramba, which is they're fully self-sustaining. They rely on building their own crafts. They don't have enough land to be agriculturally independent, so they have to do like art. They have to build stuff, and then it's completely equal. So let's start with religion. There's no public religion anywhere. So you're allowed to practice whatever you want privately, but in public you don't talk about it and you keep it out of public discourse and discussion, which is actually a freaking amazing way of doing it.
Hell yes.
And then there's complete, or as complete as possible, I think it is fully complete, gender equality. So jobs and duties and anything is delegated based on skill, not on sex. So you have men baking bread and women working in the shops based on skill. And no one gets a free lunch. Everyone's working. Even, like children aren't doing like factory labor, but they're getting the water and they're pumping the well to get the water. So everyone's contributing to keep the community going and flourishing. And they've really maximized the land that they're using. So it was so amazing to see how this community grew up in a very traditional, very conservative country, and yet it found a spark and it found people that were in line with these beliefs, and now they're thriving.
How is poverty out there, though, in like the economy?
Within the Aramba community, everyone's eating. Like I ate all the food. There's no poverty within that community.
Okay.
But overall, yeah, I mean, there's poverty in Ethiopia. There's poverty in Uganda. Uganda is, you brought up Uganda since Uganda's the third poorest country on planet Earth, I think. But never have I met more friendly, giving, generous, and proud people in my life. Like not once, and I mean this seriously, not once did a hand come out, not an open palm be faced towards me for me to give them something.
Yeah, that's my experience too. It's totally different than Kenya. I found people there to be real hustlers. Everybody's on the take. You would talk to someone I remember this guy gave me I was in the mosque just walking around. The guy was like, "Oh yeah, let me give you a tour. I'll give you the background on the place." I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." And then at the very end of the tour, he's like, "Okay, how about giving me some money, to help out me and my family?" And that was my experience all the time in Kenya. I remember I parked a car one time and I got out and this guard was like, "Hey, you just hit something back there." I was like, "What do you mean I hit something back there? Don't you think I would know if I hit something?" He starts writing down my plate. I knocked the pad out of his head. And he was just trying to get a bribe, man. He was just trying to give him some money to shut him up.
Yeah. It's you're absolutely right. And I was in Kenya, but I was in Mombasa, which is beachfront. So I expected it. Yeah, it is. People have no idea how beautiful Mombasa
it's really
is.
Nice.
Yeah, but I expected it there. I just don't expect it. I didn't know that it was everywhere else. But
you're right about Uganda. People are their personalities are very low key, very polite.
Yeah, it was.
We did a gorilla trek out there, which was incredible. And the guys were really nice guys, very low key. And I don't recall any hustler type incident out there. Total opposite to Kenya.
Yeah, it just it doesn't exist, And it's not that it's bad. It's just culturally different in other places, and it's one thing to have adults do it, but like when kids do it, it kind of like pulls at my heartstrings, and not in a way that you kind of feel sorry for, but I'm like, you're being conditioned at a very young age to think that you can just get something just by just putting your hand out. So in the Philippines, I'd like try. I'm like, how do I like come up with a strategy to help these kids? Yeah. So 3 kids ran up to me one time. And they stick out their hand. I'm like, all right, drop and give me 10 push-ups. So I made the 2 kids, the 2 boys, do push-ups, and they got up and I gave them money. And like while they're doing the push-ups, all the locals are staring at me because they think I'm like some asshole or something. I'm like, they don't even know what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. And so an adult walked by and said, "You shouldn't be doing that," to the kids. But after they did it, I paid them, and I'm like, okay, well, at least you're conditioning them. If I do something, I will get something in return. Right. So, I mean, maybe it doesn't freaking save the world or anything, but it's certainly better than looking away from the problem and ignoring it, and or just not even looking him in the eyes when you give him something.
Yeah, just spraying the money hose.
Right.
Yeah, it just doesn't. So that was my
India. India's the worst with that. That India makes Kenya look like Uganda, right? I mean, the hustlers in Kenya are nothing compared to the hustlers in India. India, they'll follow you for 10 blocks. Their whole strategy is, I'm just going to bother you until just be relentless until you just give up.
Yeah, you kind of get hardened. Like you just have to
you have to, Otherwise you go crazy.
Like
you can't just give money. You really can't give money to anyone, because if you do, other people see that, and now you have a whole horde of people following you.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So now you're a mark. Seriously.
Now you have an entourage you don't want.
So you look like that scene from Ali when he was like going to fight to thrill him. But it's like, no, not follow me because I'm a celebrity. It's like they want money, man. It's not the same thing.
Right. Exactly.
Crazy.
Well, I got a funny story from India. So I got to India from Lebanon. By the way, you want to go to India with like your stomach being as bulletproof as possible.
So Mike has told me.
It's impossible to get out of India without diarrhea. I'm convinced that diarrhea was invented in India. I bet the first case of diarrhea in human history came out of India.
Okay, you just confirmed everything Mike's ever told me, man.
If you ever want to start a fast, that's the time. There are times you're like, you know what, I'm starving, but I'm just gonna fast it out.
That's probably like the number one strategy. If you can deal with hunger effectively, that's your number one option. Just don't.
You go to a street vendor, you might as well you might as well just say, hey, thanks for the diarrhea before you take the fight.
all those food fasts for political reasons in India are just really people not wanting diarrhea.
I'm on a hunger strike. No, you're not. You just don't want to have the runs, man. Come on.
Oh, it's so true.
Yeah, so I had actually gotten a stomach bug in Lebanon, and from a home-cooked meal, so it just caught everyone off guard. So it wasn't street food. It wasn't anything. Like, we bought the ingredients and made the food ourselves, so it just caught everyone by surprise. But, now I've got diarrhea, I've got all this stuff going on in my stomach, and I have a flight to India the next day, and I'm like, okay, this just sucks. So I'm trying to go, so I'm landing in Delhi, and I'm like, I'm just going to take the first 4 days to just do nothing except recover. And I told you that all these stories that we get are just random happenstance. Like, I arrive in my hostel in Delhi, and within 30 seconds of someone sitting across from me, I hear a conversation about a guy that is walking 10,000 miles. He's walking 10,000 miles from Cardiff, Wales to Cardiff, New South Wales in Australia. So from the UK to Australia, and he's 3.5 years into it, and he happens to pull up into the hostel that I'm at, and I just sit up and I'm like, dude, I have to film you now. So we ended up filming his story. I
saw that episode. That was a great episode.
Yeah, like, it's amazing what motivates and inspires people. And he was walking for water, walking for water change. So he's trying to spread awareness on that, and he found something that he's passionate about, something that guides his dream, his happiness. And one of the things that if anyone watches the episode, they'll hear that he's like, you know what, if a gun is ever pointed at my head, I'm going to turn right back around and go home. And that happened to him every single day that he was in Afghanistan, just a machine gun just in his head, like being around tanks. And I'm like, wow, like, that's crazy. He's like, you know what, you adapt, you evolve, and you whatever life is giving you in the moment, you just kind of say, yep, and you keep pushing through. And like, when he told me that, I'm like, yeah, I guess that is how you get through a long trip like of your magnitude. It made me feel like I've been traveling for nearly a year at that point, and I'm like, man, I'm using like trains and buses and flights, and he's just walking the whole time, and he's been on the road for 3.5 years, camping on the side of the road, like in hills, and I'm like, man, I'm a pussy compared to you, man.
And he's going from the UK to Australia, so he's going to walk across water at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, so you met Jesus.
This guy really is amazing.
So no wonder he wasn't afraid of machine guns being in his face. Like, dude, I got this. I'll call my father and end this right now. Do you know who I am?
I just hope he doesn't get mistaken for a refugee. No, I think the only time, I think he'll take a boat from I think Indonesia to Australia. I think that's
going to be a rowboat. How he's doing this trip.
But to counteract, he's just going to be walking back and forth on the boat.
I was just thinking the same thing. Like he's got his Fitbit on and he's trying to get his steps in.
If he does that, that's the extra mile. I think,
Literally.
But you know what, Luke? You do meet some really interesting people if you stay in hostels. Now, I'm not going to say that I do that. I travel first class, so I'm not going to say that I do that. But when I was much younger, I did that a few times. And if you want to go to a country and actually meet some interesting people to hang out with, that's how it's going to happen. It's not going to happen at the Ritz-Carlton, in the cigar lounge downstairs. It's going to happen in those hostels.
Oh, dude, I think how you where you accommodate, where you pick your accommodation, how you're doing it depends on the country. To be honest, I used everything from hotels, and I even stayed in 5-star hotels that allowed me to stay there for free, asterisk. But couch surfing and hostels were probably the deepest and most local experiences I had. And sometimes, even though couch surfing is technically free and hostels you have to pay for, sometimes it's cheaper and more relaxing to go to a hostel where you're paying a really low cost to just chill out. Whereas couch surfing, you do have to be a good guest. You have to be open to receiving and be willing to receive what the host is giving you in terms of time, attention, guiding, food, because hosts around the world that can't travel, they want to show people their country because it's their way of sharing and their way of traveling in a way. Right. And some of the deepest experiences I had were because of couch surfing. And you're tired and you're beat down from traveling, but if you say, you know what, forget it, I'm just going to go with the flow of this, it ends up being this amazing, enlightening experience. So I can't say enough about organizations like couch surfing. And then, hostels, that's the obvious choice for backpacking and just crazy adventures. But couch surfing is something people should be less scared of and much more open to.
Is there a website for that? How did you find out about that?
So couchsurfing.org or couchsurfing.com, I think both work at this point. It's been around for years, so I've had a profile on it for years, and I never really used it. But it's a network of millions. I do mean millions of hosts and travelers that pretty much say, "Hey, I've got a couch. Come crash with me," or "Hey, I'm looking for a couch. Who can house me for a few nights?" And just like every other experience in life, it's hit and miss. Sometimes you get a host that's amazing. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get as a host, sometimes you get a traveler that's amazing. Sometimes you don't. But it's not about that. It's about just being open to whatever that new experience is. Yeah. And it's absolutely an amazing community. And it was a bit easier for me. I'm not a single solo female, so it's a bit different traveling when you're a single solo female. Right. You just have to have your guard up. Not that you're going to be hurt or something's going to happen. You just have to be a little more cautious and go through your system of checks and balances where you look at the person's profile, look how many references they have, look how many photos they have, and it's a gut feeling like, this person looks like a genuinely good person. He's got good reviews. Doesn't look like a sleazeball. Let's go.
You don't want to end up in a situation like the Hostel movies.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what people are scared of. People are so scared.
If that movie doesn't scare you, I don't know what will. Watch that movie, like, nah, I don't think I'm going to stay in a hostel ever.
The crazy part is, though, that the hostels now have the amenities that hotels have. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. They're much nicer than they used to be, no doubt about it.
Yeah, oh yeah. And the only thing that, if you want privacy, definitely go to a hotel. If you want to be looked after, definitely go to a hotel. But if you're looking for a comfortable bed, a community room, and a kitchen, it's
the hostel in Santa Monica is nicer than a lot of the hotels there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And now at this point, hostels have private rooms too. Just don't expect
So it's very much like Airbnb, kind of like right along those lines, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know what? You're right.
Except nowhere is nice.
Exactly.
There you get a couple good meals.
Yeah, that's true.
A nice room. Like the poor man's version of that.
But you get everything, man. I couch surf sleeping on wooden floors, sleeping on tiny couches meant for 7-year-olds, and then you get couch surfing experiences where I'm staying on a top floor loft.
And you're a tall guy. What are you 6'4", Luke? You're a tall guy too.
Yeah, 6'5". So you just kind of learn to sleep in a fetal position.
Looking like Shaq in a daybed, man.
I don't know if you went to Japan, but you're probably just crouching down the whole time.
They probably did. You go to Japan? Because I'm pretty sure they would have loved you, man. I remember our friend John Buckley going over there. They just look at him like he's Godzilla, but just in human form.
People just wanted to take photos with him.
Exactly.
Just because.
And pick me up. Take a picture.
I fell in love with Japan. First of all, it doesn't even look like a real city. It looks like a model of a city. Like someone
Tokyo.
Yeah, Tokyo, and Yokohama, and it just looks, it's so fucking, it's just clean. It's so fucking clean. It's unbelievable. It doesn't look real. It doesn't look real at all. It's so clean. Like at night is when it stands out the most, because you've got these traffic lights and it's lighting up these perfect streets. I'm like, where's the trash? Where's the empty like plastic and trash bags?
Where are the crackheads? Where are the hookers? You know?
Yeah.
Well, that's Amsterdam, man. Wrong place.
Yeah. They're there, but they're not obvious.
Exactly. You hear that, Vegas?
Unlike Dubai, where they're there and they're obvious.
Yeah, because they're posting on Instagram. Like, I know where to find them.
There's even in Tokyo, you're gonna get, it's the obvious street corners. You go to the places where it looks like downtown New York with all the skyscrapers and lights, and people, if they see a white guy, they're just walking up to him. Hey, you want a massage? Hey, you want a massage? I'm like, you're just getting targeted. Like, hold on.
Wink, wink.
Exactly.
One thing I will say.
Why, yes, I do.
Your middle looks a little sore. Okay.
I remember people being really friendly in Tokyo as well when I was a kid. I remember I was there with my brother and my mom. I was probably 7 years old, and some random guy just came up to us and gave us some ice cream cones.
Yeah, it's an amazing culture. I mean, to be fair to every culture I was in, there wasn't a single culture that wasn't open, kind, giving, and generous.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a bit biased because people knew I was filming them, and so
Right.
they wanted to go out of their way.
It's good propaganda. Hey, this guy here.
Yeah, exactly.
Second the camera goes off, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, so I was really lucky to be traveling the way I was, because people were so just open and giving, and just even strangers, like people like went out of their way, and you wouldn't expect it in Japan, where everyone's supposedly and stereotypically very regimented, going somewhere and not stopping for anything. But I'm like, hey, I'm kind of lost. Can you help me out? And they'd like walk with me half the way and say, okay, now just continue on that way. So it was.
I found Rotterdam to be like that too. I would just ask someone for directions, and they're walking you down the street, taking you to the location.
I loved Rotterdam.
Yeah, I like it too. It's a really nice, low key city.
Mm-hmm. I find it to be like the modernness that it has is it's a bit more modern than Amsterdam,
right?
And it's still finding its culture and finding its way, and it doesn't have that just flood of tourism. So it still feels really welcoming and homey compared to Amsterdam. I like the both, but Rotterdam, I could live in Rotterdam.
Yeah, people are way more friendly in Rotterdam. Amsterdam, my experience was people were fairly rude there. I would be at a coffee shop, and you'd be there for 20 minutes, and some guy would come over and point at his watch. Like time for you to go, basically, is what he said. You walk into a store, what do you want? What I want is some good customer service. I remember I was in the airport, and I was looking at a magazine. This lady who works there comes up to me, and she goes, "This is not a library."
Well, obviously, because you're loud and rude. Okay. So.
I was like, well, it's also not a place where I'm going to buy anything. I was about to buy this magazine until you said that.
It's not a library.
But Rotterdam was the exact opposite of that. So that was my experience as well. Now, here's one thing, Luke. I'm really curious in if you found there was a correlation between really tight-knit communities and health.
Yeah, I mean, the strength of the community, especially this in metropolitan, I tried to get a little bit of everything. So I was in cities where the community is kind of irrelevant, and then I went to tiny villages like in Fiji and in Ethiopia, like I mentioned, and even in Palestine, I went to a small farm that really is a small community, and people lean on each other for support, and it's such an important aspect of the way they live and the way they survive. But I have to say that as long as it's correlated to if they're sticking to the traditional values, if they're allowing the modern times and the modern ways of living and technology and individuality and kind of consumerism and materialism to start infiltrating the community, it starts crumbling a little bit, because then the success and the value of the individual becomes prioritized over the community as a whole,
right.
And you start having little gives and takes, whereas sometimes full whether it was like full contribution to this community project, now you only have to contribute half of what you used to. So it's becoming more and more independent and self-reliant, family unit relying only on the family unit. And it's a bit sad, because it kind of signals the beginning of the end when you start saying, okay, well, my image and my Instagram or whatever, these tiny things that highlight the individual, when that starts taking priority to the whole, it's kind of like okay, well, here it comes. So
that seems to be a universal phenomenon, because I remember reading this book Outliers, and in the very first chapter he talks about this small town in Italy where everyone was really healthy, right? And they did all the blood markers of their cholesterol, their heart health, etc. And they just thought for sure it had to be something to do with their diet. And it turned out their diet, by a lot of standards, wasn't all that healthy. Super high fat, a lot of carbohydrate, a lot of pasta, things like that. And it turns out that it was more that strong community knit focus is why people were so healthy there. So if someone is depressed, the whole community is going to help this individual out.
Yeah.
If someone's having financial trouble, everyone on the street is going to help that person out.
Yep.
So you never really felt like the burden of your life was on your shoulders completely. Yeah.
I mean, I think that would make a lot of people uncomfortable. Like me, that would make us uncomfortable to feel like, hey, I'm going to just ask strangers for help. Like, it's such a foreign concept for people nowadays to ask for help that it puts them in a really uncomfortable situation to accept help, to be open to receiving it. It's no wonder. Like, it's such a foreign concept.
The problem is a lot of times we think it's a scam too, right?
Yeah.
Someone's going, oh, I need help with this, and we're just like, okay, you scam artist. And what's the take here? What are you trying to do?
But on the flip side of that, we're in this culture where where it's this gift, this prize of being a self-made man. Like, I did this all by myself. I'm like, no, you didn't. It's like, did you create that, then buy it yourself? And then I'm like, what do you mean you did it by yourself, dude? You're not a self-made man. So, Luke, I got to ask you this though, man.
You're not even self-made literally.
Exactly. So, if that's the case, I mean, there'd be a lot of self-made men running around here with some of these guys who have a lot of time on their hands, literally. Hey, Luke, I got to ask you this. Talking about being uncomfortable. It's funny. I was watching No Reservations with Anthony Bourdain, and he was in Ethiopia with Marcus Samuelsson, the well-known chef, because Marcus is originally Ethiopian, but due to the war that was going on, all that, he had to leave, and he ended up being adopted by a Swedish family and whatnot. So he's been trying to go back and really get in touch with his culture. And so one of the things that I saw on there that kind of made Anthony Bourdain like very uncomfortable was like, as a way of showing love is when you eat and have the feast in Ethiopia, your guests will take the food and they'll put it in your mouth. They'll feed you. And I was wondering if when you're in Ethiopia, did they do that with you as well?
Yep. That's a tradition. Like, they cook this injera bread. Injera bread.
Oh my gosh, dude!
So
it's the
injera
best.
bread is delicious.
Oh my
but
gosh!
After 3 days, your stomach is like, I can't eat anymore.
Oh, you're pregnant, man. You're gonna have like a bread baby, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's exactly right, because there's so much like yeast or something in it. It just makes your stomach.
Well, you gotta get full, man. You can't sit there and can't be just a bunch of protein and then be hungry 5 or 10 minutes later. Like, no, we don't have time for that. We need to fill you up now. They remember the famine crisis of the 70s and 80s. They're like, we're not trying to go back to that. They just got out of that,
So that means you had Tibbs, right? Did you have Tibbs there?
Oh man, no, I didn't go there yet, but trust me, that is my list of places to go next year in 2016.
Yeah.
That is at the top of my list. That and Kenya was up there too, but talking to Mike, I think I might bump it down about 4 or 5 notches.
Kenya is definitely worth going to, especially the game parks out there.
Yeah,
Maasai National Park. That is something everyone should try to get to, because that's an amazing experience. So Kenya is definitely worth going to. Uganda is definitely worth going to. If anyone can do the gorilla trek, I would highly recommend it. Those are the two things that really stick out to me.
And in Uganda, right, it's about an hour away from Kampala. You can whitewater raft on the Nile.
Oh yeah, that's amazing.
And they're grade 5 rapids, so the biggest possible rapids you can pretty much find on a commercial adventure like this. Except the water is so deep that there's really no risk of hurting yourself or hitting anything. So you're just
drowning.
Just drowning, and not knowing, how far down you're gonna go, just that little thing.
By an alligator.
No biggie.
I'd be more worried about the microbes. They tell you all right, take this antibiotic in 6 months just to make sure you don't get this thing that acts up in 6 months. I'm like, okay, thanks.
That's the thing. You have to take antibiotics before you go to a lot of these countries, and that's not the time to be on Mr. Natural and try to just take
no vaccines. The vaccinophobe. That's not the time, bro.
Oregano's not going to cut it. That's the time. Take the medicine.
St. John's Wort, you're going to get them.
Lavender oil. It's fun. You know what though? There's definitely risks for diseases in African countries. You talk about that. There's this big scare. I had to get all these vaccines and stuff. But when I got there, so much of it is media sensationalism, and like they talk about malaria like it's a cold or a flu, and the reason why it's such a huge killer is because they don't have access to medical treatment, or they don't want Western medical treatment. So that's why they die, because it's either they can't afford it or they don't trust the people providing the care. But when I was hanging out with a bunch of Ugandans, one of the people in my group, one of the Ugandans got malaria, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I got to go get medication. I'll see you this afternoon." I'm like, "What?" Like, it's just not that serious of a issue to them, because they just go get tested, they get the medication, and it's curable, and they move on. The only thing there's a specific type of malaria they have to test for to make sure it's not that one, but that one's more rare. It's like, I'm not 100% certain if I remember correctly, but it's like malaria in the brain or something. But if it's any kind of other malaria, it's just like, oh yeah, I just got a really shitty flu, and I'm going to get past it with some medication and move on and move forward.
Whereas over here, you get a cold, you want to take off. Oh, I got to take 5 sick days, man, to get over this cold. Or I drank too much over the weekend, I got a stomach bug. Like, no, you got the vodka bug, man. But like, I can't go to work for the next 3 days. How do you know that? Now all of a sudden you're a fortune teller. You just know that. Like, oh, this is gonna be about a 3-dayer here, man. I don't know. It's funny that you said that, the media plays this big role in saying that all these diseases are over in Africa. It's just like, one of the places you got to really worry about all the diseases are right here in freaking America. They don't want to talk about that. I'm just like, come on, man. There's just so many things out there now. And with all the antibiotics and all the drugs that people just take every day just because they're so afraid of catching something, all these diseases have like built themselves up, to be immune to that stuff. I'm like, dude, we're probably more at risk over here than going over in Africa, man, because, we got super bugs over here, which is a funny name, right? There's like all of a sudden now they're mutants, So
I absolutely agree. Like, let's put it like, I traveled for 13 months and I got sick once, and that wasn't even being sick. I ate a raw meat dish in Ethiopia. I'd eaten raw meat plenty of times, but I ate a raw meat dish at a place that I didn't know I was eating raw meat, and I wouldn't have ordered it there. Right. And I had a bug for about 2 weeks, and I didn't take any antibiotics. I got past it. Then in Lebanon, the one I got from that homemade meal, I took antibiotics because I didn't want to be sick in India. But other than those 2 stomach bugs from food, I didn't catch anything. I was healthy. I didn't take any drugs or any medication. I come back to New Zealand and I'm like coughing and sneezing within like 24 hours of being here, partly from the cold weather. But it really is. You can't just like typecast a place as, oh, you're going to get sick there, because it's just not true.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think your show is good at helping people break through fears, right? Some people have a lot of trepidation about traveling, and they'll watch your show, and I think it'll help alleviate that quite a bit.
That was definitely my goal. It's like, how do you promote open-mindedness and acceptance and dialogue and conversation rather than fear and angry debate and yelling and, right. Like pounding your chest like your way is the only way. It's just not the way it works.
I can't emphasize the importance of traveling enough, because so many people I know who forget about never being out of America. A lot of them haven't even been to the West Coast. People grew up in the East Coast. Some people
haven't been out of their own borough. Yeah, or even out of their own borough. Just like I stay in Brooklyn.
But they often talk about the world as if they've seen it. I hear that all the time. Like, oh, here's what's going on over there. It's like, well, have you been over there? Nope.
No.
Then you don't know what's going on over there.
I saw it on the news.
Well, Facebook told me.
Well, you know what they say. They said that it's dangerous over there. Who the F is they?
They have a lot to say, don't they?
They need to shut the fuck up sometimes.
Because they don't want you to know that people are actually nice. Like, everyone's so fucking nice. It's unreal.
You can't sell nice though in all these media outlets. You got to sell the fear, man. Nobody wants to watch nice. Come on.
I think that's why I'm
really humans being nice
on the Travel Channel.
Well, what's cool about your show is that it shows the power of DIY, right? You just came up with this idea. Now, you self-financed this, Luke, or did you have some help?
I did some crowdsourcing. I got some corporate sponsors, and without I was finding as many creative ways to fund it as possible. I definitely went through 110% of my life savings to do it, and I don't regret it. And I got crowdsourcing, and one way that people contributed without really having to contribute money, because every contribution helps, was a lot of people donated airline miles. So a lot of my flights were free, and even all of my first class experiences were booked with miles, and they were free and given to me by people that had excess miles, airline miles. I didn't want to use them or didn't need to use them. So cool. The trip was definitely a community effort. But yeah, I've always been a fan of DIY. So I taught myself how to film, I taught myself how to edit, and I did everything from start to finish for every episode, and I did it while traveling on the road.
Plus, I mean, you worked the streets for a month in Bangkok.
That's right. Yeah, man. I have a lady boy profile on Tinder.
On Hinder.
Did a couple pornos in Japan. We know how you like those tall white guys. Got recruited right off the streets in Tokyo.
That's why I said crowdfunding, man.
Crowd and fun.
Now we know how you get those first class accommodations.
Crowd, fun, and ding.
What all countries did you visit in Africa? You went to Uganda, you went to Kenya, you went to Ethiopia. Where else did you go?
So I started in I'll actually tell you the country and the person or story that I filmed there, just because you'll see the wide variety of things that I did within each country or what you could find.
Sure.
I landed in South Africa, in Johannesburg, rumored to be like, if you land, you'll get shot in the head.
You're going to get carjacked. Well, I'm not even in the car yet, man. What are you talking about?
I got ripped off by someone trying to give me some free advice on where to go in the terminal, which ended up me having to pay him. That was the full extent of my dangerous experience in Johannesburg.
So it was a learning experience, Mike. Now you can
absolutely.
You don't talk to anyone in an airport that's offering help ever. That's like a general rule. Or you don't go with the first taxi driver.
You could use that advice in the streets of New Orleans as well.
Hell yeah.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. So I got to Johannesburg and I filmed a girl called she goes by Girl with Cake. So that's her worldwide name. If you go to girlwithcake.com or something, that's her name, and she bakes cakes.
So far.
I'm sitting there thinking like cake or cakes, because I'm like, we're using the herbal colloquialism of what cakes. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to look this girl up. Hold on, man.
I got some cake and cookies for you.
Got those cakes, baby.
2 girls, 1 cup. But
oh, come on, man.
That is right.
So she bakes cakes for homeless and poverty-stricken individuals all over Johannesburg. So she'll find someone that personally touches her, whether it be someone in the street or she'll hear a story about someone that needs help, and she bakes personalized cakes and delivers it to them one at a time. So, and she films it. Well, I filmed it. She usually takes photos, writes articles about their stories, because she wants to show people that it doesn't matter like what you do. Like giving someone a sugar like full cake isn't the most healthy thing you can do, but it's such an act of kindness and it's such an act of love that these people are not used to. And to see their reactions, like everyone was in tears when I was filming like what was going on. I was just like, wow, this is an incredible story. So you get something like that in Johannesburg. I went to Cape Town and went diving with great white sharks, which was quite the experience. Then I went up to Tanzania and went up Kilimanjaro, which is awesome. And, fitness has nothing to do with it. It's just how you adapt and acclimate to altitude. So it's pretty much hit and miss, and you don't know how you'll adapt to it until you get there. Yep. And then I went to Kenya next. I went to Mombasa, where I filmed at a place called Bambalulu, where they only employ disabled people. So it was incredible to see, and I still have a leather belt that was made by one of the workers. I interviewed him, and to talk about his story of finding purpose, finding meaning, and this place gave him and his family housing, food, jobs, and education, everything they needed. And it's just this incredible organization, and they ship their products worldwide. So it's a global organization. From there, I went up to Uganda, where I filmed an artist and a contemporary African dancer. Then went into Ethiopia and filmed. You've heard of Bakoji, that small village where all those ultra marathoners come out of?
Yeah.
So I filmed over there, and then I filmed a skate park for underprivileged children in Addis Ababa.
Yeah, I saw that. They talked about that as well, because that's like a new phenomenon for them over there right now. It's really growing, is the skate community. And, it's just funny because even Anthony Bourdain was sitting there like, man, he's looking at Marcus Samuelson like, the thing you guys might want to do here is open up a skate shop and really take this to the next level, because those kids are really into it. It just kind of happened by accident.
And I would say it's because of this one guy, Israel Dejani. He's doing it. He's single-handedly making it popular in Ethiopia, and he's doing it like really big. He took this tiny little plot of land, turned it into a skate park, and he's like, you know what, that's not enough. He's putting a computer lab in it. He's trying to give these kids opportunities. They've got these cool activities where they have to go help one stranger once a week. It's really about the message, and they're just trying to find different ways to deliver that message. Yeah,
definitely, man.
Yeah,
Now here's the question, man. I saw that I saw on your Instagram, man, that you actually went to a kung fu school, a Shaolin kung fu school while you were in China. And, you got all these martial artists, or all these people like, oh, martial arts, this, that, and the other. But like, dude, you just pretty much done something like most of those guys dream about is going to training there. I'm seeing you going down the steps, man, pulling a John Hines almost, breaking out doing the push-ups and all that down the steps, man. I was like, wow, because even I was kind of like, okay, I want to do that. So, what was that like, man? To be with those kung fu masters, man.
I have to be completely honest. If I did not have a child, I would have stayed at that school for months. And That's the God honest truth. It was so nice to be, because I played football where it's like a strict regimented schedule and you got to come to practice and do your thing.
Right.
At that kung fu school, it's all about maximizing the potential of your mind and body. So 3 times a day is set 2-hour trainings. They feed you good food, and like it's a like this insulated environment where it's nothing but support, and that you can push your body because you're safe and everyone's pushing you to do it. It's just amazing. Whereas like you try any of that somewhere else and like there's too many naysayers, but that is just such an amazing environment to train. And they've got students from all over the world. There was at least a dozen countries represented with the 30 something people there. And like, oh yeah, like you can chop a brick with your hand. I'm like, no, I can't. And they teach you how to do it. Like, and I freaking chopped a brick. It was like, I never thought I'd be able to do that. And it was nice because after, that was actually towards the end, your body's disintegrated from all the traveling because traveling takes a toll. Yeah. Like I was just like, I wonder if I can survive this. And it was so nice to feel that level of soreness, but then just to work through it and just keep pushing yourself. Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm sure Prince is listening right now. He's geeking out right now because he's thinking like, wait a minute. First of all, I don't have any kids. I don't have a wife. I'm gonna go make this happen.
Well, it's such a good there's so many people there that went there just for like, hey, I had no idea what I want to do with my life, so I came here for a change and it's like really nice because. Yeah. It actually welcomes new change into your life because you're allowed to clear your mind. You're allowed to just let new stuff come out of you rather than like being surrounded by too many distractions at home. So you go somewhere to just really focus on your body and your mind. It's nice. Exactly.
And when I say Prince, people, I'm talking about one of our listeners, Prince Bell, not Prince Rogers Nelson, also known as the artist. No, not that guy.
Yeah, I thought you meant him too. I'm like,
like Prince?
I don't see the connection.
Yeah, I had to clarify that because I know people are like, wow, Prince is into Kung Fu.
How would someone? This is something you pay for. You have to get invited to. How would someone go about?
How's the access to that? Yeah, because
exactly.
It seems like from the media, this is something that only a chosen few are allowed to have access to. So
it's about the lessons. Like they meet you where you're at. Like they meet you where you're physically capable, where you're mentally capable, and they take you from there. Some people go there to want to be Shaolin masters, and they train them.
Anyone can just show up for this, or you have to pay to be a part of it. How does that work?
So it's an application process, and I'm sure that they look at a multitude of variables, but you pay a tuition. So it's like going to school. So you live there, and they feed you, they give you a bed, they give you everything you need to survive, and like whatever luxuries you want, you're allowed to add to your room if you really need them. But they're pretty strict on like not having too comfortable of a bed. They really want to stick to some of the basic tenets within the Shaolin art.
Kind of a Spartan experience, right? Yeah, you're not going to be staying in some luxurious mattress. No. You want to have this kind of rustic lifestyle to maximize the potential.
Yeah, it's the Chufu Shaolin Kung Fu School. So Chufu is spelled Qufu. It's where Confucius was born. So it's it's like 2 hours north of Shanghai, but it's a really nice place. It really is.
Yeah, that would always be an interesting experience to not necessarily even just Kung Fu, but just whatever the physical goals you have where you could just focus entirely on that for, let's say, 3 months and see how much progress you can make. I think it would be quite amazing how much progress you would make in that time frame.
Yep, and that's what people go there. They go there for 3 or 6 month plans, and they either get what they want, or they're like, you know what, I love this so much, and I'm going to sign on for more. So there were people there that were supposed to be for 3 months, and they stayed for 2 years because it's so amazing to see how much change can happen within your body and mind within such a small amount of time.
Yeah, the mental clarity as well. I think we're in such a cluttered environment. I mean, and it's self-chosen too. You don't have to go on Facebook or Instagram or be on the computer all day long or watch TV all night. You don't have to do any of those things, but a lot of people do. And then they wonder why they're so dissatisfied and don't know what their purpose is. It's like, well, how could you possibly know what your purpose is?
You don't even know who you are, because
when you're constantly distracting yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know what? Like, I take those words to heart for sure because but most of these people don't even know that it's a choice. It's like they're so conditioned to get these like Facebook and all these different distractions because they don't know how to deal with the discomfort of just sitting the fuck still. And that's one thing that. Well,
I think so many people are just so insecure with themselves that they're always looking for this pat on the back, whether it's posting pictures all day long or posting what they're doing, all day long. I worked out today. Oh, great job. 50 likes. Oh, 50. Now I feel better about myself.
So, hold on. Let me pull my workout shorts up my ass a little bit. Oh, 500 likes. There we go. I like that. Hell yeah.
I was one of those likes sincere. I was one of those likes.
Yeah, we encourage that. Don't take this as a way that we don't want you to post those pictures.
I'm with you. I just recently got rid of most of my social media. Actually, I got rid of all of my social media. I've deactivated Facebook. I've deleted Instagram from my phone. And
I think you and I had an email exchange about that.
Yeah, man,
I got rid of a bunch of stuff. You're like, hey, why did you get rid of that stuff? I'm like, it's a waste of time, man. It's not doing anything useful for my business.
Yeah, no, it's right. It's not even doing anything useful for my life. And I may go back because Facebook is not evil. Facebook is not bad in and of itself. It's the relationship that people form with it.
Yeah, it's all how you use it. Too.
Yeah,
exactly. It's how you use it. So I just like to be, you have to look yourself in the mirror and be like, hey, this is not healthy for me. And then within like 48 hours, the things that actually matter, the relationships that actually matter, the shit that actually needs my attention just comes to the surface. And then you know how to like live a more fulfilled life because you're doing things that actually require your presence and your attention and your love and your care and your all these things. And it's like amazing how much more fulfilling a day can be when you're not fucking worried about how many likes you have or how many shares you have. And it was a tough pill to swallow to say, you know what, Luke, you're doing this for all the wrong reasons, so just get rid of it. And it was surprising how quickly it did just like clear up. It was like taking a snow globe and you just stop shaking it. All of a sudden, everything settles very quickly, and then you see reality as it is instead of all this fucking snow in the way. So
yeah. When did you make the decision to go down this road? Because I remember, I think the last time I saw you was in Santa Monica in 2012. I was teaching a course out there at Peter Rouse's gym. So when did this, was this something that was germinating in your mind for a while?
Yeah, I had my gym in Santa Monica. I had my wellness studio in Santa Monica, and like I loved it. It was a great experience, but there was an itch inside of me that said that, hey, you need to be out there. You need to be having a broader impact than just working with people on the individual level, which, side note, now I love working with people on the individual level again. But and this plan came to my head like, hey, I would write the book about everything that I've learned about health and happiness during my years as a trainer, nutrition coach, and massage therapist. And then I'll travel around the world with a purpose to show how people are living by these 6 fundamental things that make people healthy. Real food, movement, rest and relaxation, lifelong learning, community, and love. And if I show those 6 things and how people are living by those in a million different ways, I'll be able to travel around the world. And it's funny, when the idea first came to my head, it was going to be me traveling alone for 2 years because I could do that. And then, then you meet the person that you think is the love of your life, and then you have a baby with that person, and then all of a sudden all the plans change. But, life says if you really want this, then go get it. So then you just keep moving along with different variables. And yeah, the trip definitely changed. Traveling with a baby is difficult, but it didn't
stop you from going down this path. That's what I like to hear, because a lot of people have a kid and they now
I got a family, it's easy for you.
So, yeah, exactly. So you still stayed the course even with that. So I think that's very compelling.
I try to, I think people don't understand how important it is to keep your word, and not to other people, but to yourself.
Yeah.
To yourself. Like if you lose confidence in yourself or you keep saying shit that you don't follow through on, you're just going to be insecure and you won't do anything. You'll just be shit scared because you've never followed through on anything you actually said you were going to do.
Absolutely.
So it was really important for my own well-being, like to move forward, to know that I can do something if I just say I'm going to do it. So I you try to be careful with what you say you're going to do to the public.
Exactly.
My attitude is don't say anything to the public until you're at least on the path.
Yeah, get it started first,
Yeah. Talk about how it was done. But then it's funny because as soon as you do it, it's not that it loses its importance, but it becomes a gift to yourself, and you don't have a need to talk about it. The need to talk about it is almost like ego gratification and validation. Definitely. But when you actually do it and you feel the deep fulfillment in accomplishing it yourself, you don't need to be spreading the word to everybody. You're like, hey, you know what? I just fucking did this, and I'm great. Let's move forward now.
Well, usually you don't have to voluntarily do it. It's usually people ask, hey, man, I see you doing this. How'd you get started with that? They're asking, because you're too busy in the process of doing it. Like, excuse me, what? You didn't even notice they were standing there watching. You're like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even see you there. I was too busy doing what the hell I'm doing. But how'd you do it? Oh, okay. Well, I got a few seconds, man, but I got to get back to it. So
you get annoyed talking about it.
Exactly. Like, I got to tell the story again.
People even asking that question, that's another way to delay action, right?
Right.
So now they're waiting for Luke to respond and give them this detailed itinerary. You didn't have that, Luke. You figured it out. That's how you did it. Figure shit out.
Exactly. You just take the first step, because as soon as you take the first step, shit just falls into place. I didn't have the money to do it. Like, so much help came along the way. You just fucking figure it out as you go. Every problem, every day is a new problem, and you have to figure out a new solution for it. And to land in a country with 4 days there with absolutely no idea who you're going to film, what you're going to find, it's crazy how we found people. Like, sometimes it was the hostel owner's best friend. Sometimes it was it's just random. It's always random.
Well, there's a line in one of my favorite books of all time, Think and Grow Rich, right, where it says the world has a way of making room for a man who knows exactly what he wants. Right. And this can be applied to you ladies as well. I'm sure if you revise the book now, it would say man and woman. But anyway, it's like when you have that certainty in your mind of what you're actually trying to achieve, it's kind of funny how things just start, like these coincidences start happening frequently.
Yeah, and it starts with a faith in yourself. That's where it starts. So we talk about keeping your word. If you can just start on a daily basis, make an easy ass to-do list, eat lunch, wake up, brush your teeth, go through 3 things that you're going to do and say, if I do these basic things, my day will be fulfilled. And you just start building trust in yourself. It's a process, if you ask someone, okay, now plan a trip around the world, that's just crazy. But this started this started years ago. The ability to think years ahead or months ahead or plan an entire project like this ahead in your own head, it takes time, and it starts with the small projects before you can tackle something of this magnitude.
Yeah, that's a good point right there as well. You take the simple steps. So you travel around the world. The first step may be to just go anywhere out of the country, Canada, Mexico, right? And then you get on a flight. You go to Costa Rica. You go to UK, something fairly safe and familiar. Yeah. And then you start branching out from there.
Yeah, and don't book anything or book with a couch surfer and leave your plans open to whatever that person wants to do. You just have to teach yourself how to be okay in uncomfortable situations, because there is no way. It's like traveling is living life on fast forward, because you're going to get every experience under the sun in a quick amount of time because you're not in your routine. You're not comfortable. Right. So you've got this exposure. Your soul, everything is being exposed to just everything.
Yep.
It seems like people want this step-by-step process on how to achieve something. Otherwise, they don't want to do it. So they go to success seminars or self-help seminars, and if they don't have this clearly delineated path for them, they don't want to do it.
Well, here's the thing.
It's such a dipshit way to live your life.
But it started in grade school, though, because a lot of times creativity is not encouraged. Okay, everything is no, this is the lesson, this is the syllabus, this is how we're going to do this semester. We're going to start here, we're going to start there, we're going to start there, and we're going to stick to this. So therefore, we can get these steps done before the end of the year. And you do that for the next 13 freaking years. So how do you expect someone to change their way of thinking when they've been indoctrinated for 13 years of this step-by-step process? We're going to go from point A to point B. There's no A1, A2, A3, even though we did.
Maybe they have to grab the balls between their legs.
Exactly. Well, the issue is, stop letting the teachers, who have a plan, and I'm not taking anything away from them because they have their job to do, but parents need to stop letting the teachers be the one to raise their kids. You got to show them that alternative when they get back home. Okay, you have the step-by-step plan at school. Okay, now we got the core foundation things you have to do here at home. Clean up your room. Don't talk back to me. I might pop you in the mouth. And, make up your bed, eat your food, blah, blah, and you just, make sure you get good grades. But everything else, when it comes to creativity, you encourage that then, because at school, a lot of times they don't have time for the children's creativity. That's the thing about it. So that's the thing. Give them the flip side of that. So therefore, it helps them be more open to what's going on outside of those 4 walls. And so they don't think that life is only bound between 4 walls. So once they get out of grade school, they go to college, 4 walls. After that, they go get a job, 4 walls. And then after that, they've missed every damn thing. So that, give them that alternative, as a
they
parent.
Lose their mind and start shooting people.
Exactly. 4 walls again. Exactly.
Yeah,
back to whence you came.
It's not a pretty sight, and it starts so young. Like, you've got these kids with these toys. Like, I remember growing up, I had a box of Legos with no instructions, no anything. Just here's a big fucking box of blocks.
They had a note that they encouraged you to make your own thing. They tell you not to, to stifle them, and they got to make a house. They said it's the reason why we have Legos, so children can create what they want. At least you had a box of Legos. Look, man, I had sticks outside. I had rocks. I had trees to climb. You know what? Like, we play war out in the woods. You know what we use? Pine cones for grenades. It was a learning experience. Trust me, getting hit with a pine cone. You toughen the fuck up as a kid when you get hit with a pine cone in the face. Okay.
My brother was the ultimate with Legos. He watched that cartoon series Voltron.
Oh, Voltron.
he made a replica of Voltron that was so good. I'm surprised if the Lego company saw it, they'd probably want to repackage it. It looked exactly like fucking Voltron. He just fucking put all this shit together. But that's what Legos do. They encourage creativity like that.
Yeah,
so
man.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But I don't know. I think somewhere along the line, though, you have to be an adult and take charge of your life, right?
Yeah.
You can't be like, well, if it wasn't for school or my parents or this or society, it's like, okay, fine. Those are all the things you had to work against. Now fucking take charge of shit and figure out who you want to be and what you want to do and then take the steps.
Yeah, it's fear, though.
It's that mental conditioning, though. That's the one thing that people have to get over. Again, it's easy for us because we didn't have dipshit, people telling us, like, you can't ever do that, you can't ever do that. And where everyone said that, there was at least one person, yeah, you can fucking do that, but you got to get off your ass and do it. And then somebody took that one person, like, wait a minute, you mean I have options? Whereas a lot of people are surrounded by fucking, like I said, I saw this meme where it says, like, pretty much, try to stay away from negative people because they found a problem for every solution. And there's a lot. And so, right now, when I just said that, there's some people thinking like, oh shit, wait a minute. I know that guy. I know that chick. Hell, I'm that guy.
Anytime you bring up something, they'll give you 5 reasons it's not going to work. It's like, I don't need you in my life, motherfucker. You go figure out why shit's not working for you. I'm going to make this stuff work. Bottom line is it comes down to this. Do you want to do it or not?
And there it is.
People often have all these things like, oh, it's fear of success. It's fear of failure. It's this. They need to have their whys. No, you need to pick a goal you actually want to achieve. When you have a goal you actually want to achieve, you're going to find a way to make it happen. And if you don't, it's because you didn't really want to do it.
Exactly. Well, people say like, I got to get my stuff together first. Let me tell you something. First of all, guys, when it comes to dating, and you tell a chick that like, I got to get my shit together, then we can move forward. She's not going to be there. When you come back, because you're never going to get your shit together.
A lot of women like to be fixer-uppers, man. She may find that like irresistible. It's like, oh shit, I got a new project here. It's you, Billy.
And there are some like, okay, you go get your shit together. I'm gonna go home with my life, dude. They're gonna sit there and wait for you. Like, you got to grow up sometime, dude. Straight up. Because you're never going to get your shit together if that's the case. You just fucking do it. So
you don't have to be perfect to go after
exactly.
You don't have to have all the stars aligned just perfectly for you to take that step.
Not yet, man. Not yet. I'm almost there. Almost, man.
Yeah, that almost never ends.
But that's that fear of making mistakes as well. Like, that means I failed if I made a mistake. No, you didn't make a mistake. You learned. I hope you learned something, My thing is that you keep repeating it over and over. Yeah, you make a mistake. You're an idiot. Okay, just stop doing it.
I think what happens also is that it's really easy for people to live vicariously through others. Like, a lot of people are going to hear this episode and just live vicariously through you, Luke. They're going to be like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Oh, I'd like to do that someday.
Hey, man, what's his YouTube page again? and they're going to travel all these countries by watching every episode on your YouTube page. Hey, man, I've been to Ethiopia. I watched that one show on Luke's page. I know everything I need to know about Ethiopia. I'm good now.
Repeating the stories that Luke mentioned. Like,
so I was in his, I was sitting there eating Ethiopian food, man, and they started stuffing it in my mouth. Oh, you went to Ethiopia? No, I went to Ethiopian restaurant. I was in Brooklyn. What the hell, man? I know an Ethiopian. I know at least one Ethiopian dude, man.
It's just so, and to a large extent, there's an encouragement of that, right? Like, people love watching other people pursue their dreams. Whether it's American Idol or The Voice, people are watching these shows going, oh, that's amazing. These people are pursuing their dreams. It's like, well, why aren't you pursuing your dream?
Yeah. Well, people aren't, because to them, their excuses are real. You can't take that away from them. Like, they actually feel that they can't do it, but it's because of conditioning, like you said, Sincere. It's not even, you can't end the conditioning until you become aware of the conditioning that it actually exists. So until you say, wait a second, who the fuck am I to tell myself that I can't do something? And if you start like investigating that, eventually it loses its power over you. And then you just naturally gravitate towards whatever the hell you want to do. But it's first realizing that voice in your head isn't you. It's been there because of family, friends, religion,
TV,
society,
everything,
marketing,
yeah.
TV, radio, whatever the fuck you're drowning your consciousness with. It's that.
And that's where that disconnect, like you talk about the Shaolin Temple, that's where it really comes in handy. Just get away with it. But you don't have to go to China and do that. You can do that now. Like, Mike, we talk about that all the time. Just take that disconnect. Just take that fast from social media. Or do like you guys did. You sit there and just, disconnect your pages and just get away from it for a second. Then you're like, okay, cool. I got some shit done. All right, I may reintroduce one more social media aspect for right now, but not all of them. Because it's so funny. Like, hey, man, you got a Snapchat page? I'm like, for what? Why? I'll say, why would I need that? I have an Instagram page. So if I want to just give a few seconds of video, then there it is. But I don't even really do that. I'm just like, why do I need one more freaking thing to make my head hurt? I don't have time. Like, I get to cheat with Instagram because I can post something and send it to Facebook, Twitter, and be done. So I come to Twitter because that's where a lot of our listeners tend to go because they know that's pretty much where they can find us most of the time. Whereas I just post bomb people on Facebook. Like, I'll drop something and I'm out. Just like, yeah, I'm gonna leave you with this, and then I'm out of there. So ponder on that or don't.
Or having some coffee in the backyard.
Exactly, and that's usually what they see. And you go through my time, that's what you see. Is like you actually see me living my freaking life. I'm sitting there smoking a cigar, I'm drinking a drink with my family or whatever. We're all hanging out. I'm at the gun range or something like that. I'm just not sitting there like at the gym taking selfies 50 million times. Like you may see me every now and then see me training just to show, like Mike and I say, to show that we do train. We don't just talk shit on a podcast. Like, no, we're after doing it.
As fitness professionals, you don't want to have some photo from 10 years ago.
That's kind of like the Facebook. That's like the Facebook profile that somebody's posted like their high school prom picture. Like, wait a minute, aren't you 50? Somebody, hey, dude, you have a Jerry curl in that picture, man. I mean, you look like NWA right now. So I'm like,
plus, as you get older, and then you're still hitting PRs, and you're still
exactly.
It's more impressive, actually.
Exactly.
In my early 30s, doing something. So at 42, me doing something, and I'm stronger and in better shape than in my early 30s. That's good for business as well. Because people like that's one of the reasons why Steve Maxwell is doing so well as he gets older. Steve's a great coach and he's a very good command of the room. But it's also the older Steve gets, the more impressive it is that he's still in great shape.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man.
Well, cool, man. We don't want to hold you up all day.
Yeah, I got my little boy Jack in the background. He's about to knock through the door, so I'm gonna go hang out with him. My mental conditioning says I got to spend some time with my little man.
Sounds
awesome.
good, man.
Appreciate it, man.
Where can people find out more about your book and also the show?
So the book Million Ways to Live is available on Amazon and Kindle as well. So if you want the hard copy of the Kindle version, and then the episodes, all 58, there's 2 more to go that I'm just editing right now. There's 58 of them up right now at millionwaystolive.com. And every episode's really quick and digestible. They're 5 minutes long. So you can get through a few each time you want to watch a few or whatever you're curious about. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing it, but it's good to be done.
Are you going to take a break now for a while, or do you plan to do some more of this, or is this project over with now?
This project is over with technically, but I think it's a fantastic way to travel because it gets me free accommodation. So if I find a country that I want to go visit, I can probably get free accommodation and free everything taken care of, and bring my son along and then film an episode for them. So it really does open the avenues for future potential travel. But as of right now, I'm really rooting down and settling down into New Zealand and fatherhood and watching my little dude grow up.
What are you doing in New Zealand? Do you have a gym out there? What's your profession right now?
So I work with people either remotely or in person for well-being, wellness coaching, and actually a meditation program because, cool. Based on everything that I've learned from all these people around the world, it's like we've been talking about. It's really their own voice in their head that prevents them from getting to where they want to be. Yeah. So there's a million ways to live, but there's only one mind that will fuck it all up, and it's your own. So
true.
So trying to get people to realize that they're not the voice in their head and connecting with their body, their subconscious mind, because your body is your subconscious mind. So if you can reconnect to that, you can reconnect or change the way you relate to the world, and that's really empowering. So I've been working with people on that, and then actually going back to school. I'm getting a master's and on my way to a PhD. The master's is in mental health and addiction, and then the PhD.
Nice.
The PhD will be in something mindfulness related. Because
that's great, man.
Yeah, so it's a long-term route and a long-term path here in New Zealand, but it feels like home and it feels right because I got my boy with me.
That's great, man. I heard Peter Rouse decided to move to Switzerland after going through your meditation course. He could finally get some sleep.
I'm so thankful he's getting some rest. One of the most brilliant minds I've ever come across on planet Earth is Peter, and I'm glad he's found rest and relaxation in a place like Switzerland. It just took the motherfucking Alps to do it. So,
well, now he's looking for a country with no extradition. That's another story for another time.
There you go.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. Great talking to you. Really fascinating stuff.
Hey,
man. I enjoyed it, and so just keep us up to date with what you're doing, and we'll have you back on down the line.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, Mike, and sincere. I'll catch you guys later.
Take care, bro.
Luke, take care, buddy. Have a good one.
Later.
That was a great episode, man. Luke is a fascinating guy. I've enjoyed his series. I haven't seen all 58 episodes. I've seen probably about 10 or 12 episodes, but they're really good. I'm going to go back and check out a few more. And like I said, very well produced and very to the point. It's not each episode is not an hour or hour and a half. It's
right.
5-10 minutes.
Which, I mean, how hard is that to have to whittle down all those experiences down to 5 to 10 minutes, man? Like, damn. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like that after a good episode when I'm doing the show notes, like, damn, man, like I gotta bring this down a little bit. So it doesn't turn into a thesis for everyone to read.
Yeah, we should make the podcast going into 2016 the 5-minute show.
Right to the point, baby.
We could record 10 episodes in one day.
Exactly. So, all those asking like, hey, when are you guys going to go to 7 days a week? That's how we would do it. So like, okay, let's just break it down 5 minutes every day. There you go. Enjoy.
I remember we went from 2 episodes to 1. People are going, "Oh, what's going on? What's going on is we got shit to do." We don't know. It's like if you want us to do 2 episodes a week, we need to see a lot more support than we're seeing. That's what's up.
And on that note, time for a segue. Yes.
You can use that support, LLA. Use that coupon code, LLA. Go get the best nutrition supplements money can buy. Testosterone booster, estrogen control. A lot of you guys have had bitch tits for 10 years. Time to get rid of it. 2016. Dedicate that year to it. Recovery oil, get some great sleep. Restore Zyme, get rid of all those aches and pains. And I've got a new adrenal energy product in development now that'll be out early next year.
Perfect.
And how about with you, man?
Hey, man, go to newwarriortraining.com. Use the same coupon code. You can get the Weight Management 101 program. So now once you're taking Mike's supplements, you know how to implement other aspects of your life to get rid of the bitch tits and take care of your health, man, and take control of that and not leave it in the hands of someone else. And also, you can get a Chiria door over there. We were talking about that earlier for all you coffee and tea lovers out there. So you can get that as well. Also, the wellness code was the digital copy. And I think I still have some hard copies over here, man. I think I'm going to put those up as well in 2016. To clear out my house with the remaining copies that I have. So, yeah, I'll even go ahead and sign them and all that good stuff, man, just to kind of get them out of there. Because one of the biggest things I'm doing in 2016, which I'm always good at, is just clearing crap out of my life. Just I want as less stuff as possible. I really want to get down to just being a minimalist, man. Because, my thing is even, we're taking a page out of your book this Christmas, whereas we're not buying any gifts for anyone. Here's my thing. What do you care about? Okay, we'll donate to that. That's the thing about it. So, because again, people have enough stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And because usually they get over that stuff after one day. The biggest thing is really teaching this to like my nieces, and my kids already know because I'm just never been big on all that stuff in the first place. So I'm like, you want all this stuff on this Christmas list? Well, the only thing I'm seeing missing from this list is you getting a job. That's the one thing you should want on this Christmas list.
Get that to the top of the list and everything else. How about that? It's a magic.
Exactly. So, yeah, man. So, like I said, I'm going to make that available, as soon as possible on the website. Right. But in the meantime, you can get the digital version so you can have one less thing cluttering up your house. You can put it on a hard drive and put it on the cloud. Once you mess up Apple's house and put it on the cloud by downloading it. So you can get all that stuff. Anything you can buy, both our websites, you're going to go and get that discount with LLA, folks. So use that. And also, one last thing. Become a monthly supporter of the show by going to patreon.com/LLA podcast. And thanks to all of our supporters throughout this year, because we just started this thing with Patreon back in January, man, and it keeps growing every month. So we want to see that keep going because that helps us with the production, helps us with our time and putting together a good show and bringing on great guests and all that stuff. So, hey, and also shows that, you actually give a damn and, you're just not sitting there freeloading. Or as Mike would say, got your head up your ass. It's got to be getting kind of tight in there right now for some of you folks. I mean, after 2.5 years of this show, I know you want to breathe. I know you want to see what the sun looks like out here. I mean, it's been dark for quite a while for some of you folks. Come out of the darkness.
Listen to 3 episodes of someone's podcast. I'm finding some way to support the show.
Exactly.
You just feel like you don't want to be that guy that we're talking about.
Yeah, I can't be a hypocrite, man. I can't be a hypocrite.
Yeah. I mean, I've been listening to the Kevin Gill show. It's a really interesting show. This guy's really in the New York hardcore and wrestling. It's a really interesting show where he either has people in the wrestling world on the show.
So it's kind of like you and me. It's like both of our interests. Like you got the hardcore and there's me with wrestling. It's like, well,
I'm listening to the show. I'm like, sincerely love the show because he's a great host. It's either someone in the wrestling world or someone in the punk rock hardcore world.
Nice.
I was like, this guy's doing exactly what we're doing in the sense that he's taking his interest and making a show about it.
Right. So there you go, folks.
We're going to wrap it up. See you next time.
Take care.